is my distinct honor to welcome you and thank you for joining us for today's press conference. I am happy to welcome you to the LLC's conference, and you'll hear from our co-chair of endorsements, Homero Tristan.
Thank you, everyone. Today we're here to send a message to our community that it is important to vote. My name is Homero Tristan, and I'm welcomed by members of the LLC, but not only the LLC, but we have members here from the Puerto Rican Agenda, as well as the Pilsen Chamber and other organizations that represent us here today. I want to thank Alex and the workers who have provided the food that's nourishing us today, because that food is what's going to fill our tummy so we can go out there and make sure that our vote is counted. Es muy importante que el voto latino sea escuchado y es muy importante que los latinos representen para nosotros la comunidad, porque hemos visto cómo los tratan de una manera por no votar, y el voto es lo que puede asegurar la equidad. So I want to bring some speakers up to talk about the message, and it's not so much about what's happening today, it's what's been happening, and today we can help to put a small stop to it by making sure that we elect leaders that are going to be responsible for our communities. I'd like to welcome a leader in her own right, a senator who has stood up against some of the atrocities that we've been seeing on the streets, and she is now running as the only Latina for statewide office, Senator Karina Villa. Senator.
Es un honor estar aquí con el LLC. Ellos son un grupo muy fuerte que hacen escuchar la voz del pueblo, que dan sugerencias de quién deben votar. Y estoy muy feliz y orgullosa de ser endosada por ellos. Miren, el pueblo es más unido que nunca en este momento. ¿Por qué? Porque vimos lo que nos ha sucedido en nuestra comunidad con estos enmascarados que han llegado, que han querido destrozarnos, que han querido silenciarnos, pero hemos salido a las calles, nos hemos protegido uno a los otros, y eso fue la primera parte. Ahora, la parte más importante es salir a votar, porque sin su voto este tipo de cosa va a seguir sucediendo. Necesitamos líderes y campeones a niveles de la ciudad, del municipio, el condado. Necesitamos a nivel estatal, a nivel federal. Hoy les estoy pidiendo su voto para ser la próxima Contralora del estado de Illinois. Es muy importante que salgan a votar, amigos y amigas. Yo estuve ahí con ustedes, he estado con ustedes y voy a seguir luchando con ustedes. My name is Karina Villa. I am an Illinois State Senator, and I am so honored to be here with the Latino Leadership Council today. I am so proud to have been endorsed by them in their movement to make sure that we have the right leaders in every single position. We need people to come out and vote for municipal elections, for midterm elections. Every single election matters. I am running for Illinois State Controller, and I am asking you for your vote. I am the only Latina running for a statewide office right now. This is not about identity politics, however. I have proven myself to be with the community from the beginning, whether it was passing legislation to make sure that undocumented seniors had health care, or now to make sure that ICE is out of our streets. I have been with you since forever, and I will continue to be with you in this seat for Illinois State Controller. Thank you so much.
Y ahora otro campeón de la comunidad. Él representa el parte del norte with the Puerto Rican Agenda and the Puerto Rican Cultural Center, a leader in his own right who has been on the front lines of making sure that our community's voice is heard. I'd like to welcome to say a few words, Mr. Juan Calderon.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is Juan Calderon, and I'm from the Puerto Rican Cultural Center. Today our message is simple. If you have not voted yet, please get out and vote. Our community's voice matters, and the decisions being made today affect the future of our neighborhoods, our families, and our opportunities. When we vote, we make sure that Latino voices are part of that decision that shape our communities across Illinois. Voting is about more than politics. It is about making sure our communities receive the resources and investments they deserve. The leaders we elect help shape the future funding decisions that support programs in our communities, in our neighborhoods, in our community-based organizations like the Puerto Rican Cultural Center depend on these investments to continue serving families, supporting our young people, strengthening our local businesses, and connecting residents to essential services. When funding is reduced or programs are cut, it doesn't just affect an organization, it affects the opportunities and stability that many families in our communities rely on. For decades, organizations like ours have worked alongside the community to create pathways for opportunity, helping young people succeed in schools, supporting entrepreneurs and small businesses, expanding access to housing, and improving health and well-being of our neighborhoods. This work strengthens our communities and creates jobs for people who are committed to serving their own neighborhoods. That is why today matters. If you have not voted yet, there is time. Polls close at 7 p.m. Make an effort, show up, make your voice heard. Some of our communities are represented, and our future continues to move forward together. Thank you.
Before I bring up our next guest, who has been a champion for our community, I wanted to give a little background to what we're doing today. For years, I believe that there's been a local area restaurant that usually brings together elected officials and other civic leaders to remind people of the importance of voting. We thought that that message should also be said in Espanol for our communities to understand that it is important for all communities to vote, and it's important for us to welcome all of our elected leaders. The next leader that we're going to be bringing up, and before I do that, I want to talk about why it's important to put people into office that understand our communities, even if they're not Latino or African American themselves or whatever race they may be. As long as they uplift our communities and take us into account, I can say that President Preckwinkle, in her years of service, has uplifted our community, has not forgotten about us, was the first to stand against ICE and to pass legislation to make sure that the county did not coordinate with the federal government when it came to detention and turning over individuals. And this came far before it was popular and far before it became a thing that everyone started to do. And so with that, I wanted to bring up the champion of our community, Cook County Board President, Tony Preckwinkle.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm grateful to be here with all of you, and I'm grateful to the LLC for inviting me. We always say democracy is at the same time the best and the most fragile form of government on earth. The best and the most fragile because it depends on an engaged, informed, active citizenry. And right now, we're at a critical moment in our country's history. The stakes could not be higher. We're seeing coordinated attacks on our communities and our values as well. Efforts to dismantle healthcare, undermine food assistance, disrupt our economy, and use fear as a political tool. We're seeing families torn apart, communities targeted, and people living with uncertainty and fear. And in moments like this, each of us has a responsibility, however we can do it, to resist, to speak up, to stand up, and to defend our neighbors and our friends. And it starts with voting. The Latino community is not one single story. It's diverse, vibrant, and powerful. And power matters right now. Your voice matters right now. Because we know what's at stake. We've seen these tactics before. Attacks on voting rights are not new in this country. They're part of a long history of trying to silence our communities. So our message today is simple. Go vote. Make a plan. Call your friends. Check on your family. Make sure everyone in your life has a plan to vote. Polls close at 7 today, and remember, if you're in line by 7 o'clock, you have the right to vote. Do not leave. Now more than ever, it's imperative that you make your voice heard. We cannot afford to stay home. We cannot afford to stay silent. Thank you.
It is now my distinct pleasure to welcome to the stage Commissioner Sepulveda, who represents the only Latina, or one of the only Latinas countywide elected officials, and so to say a few words also to our community. Commissioner?
Good afternoon, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
I'm Commissioner Ada Corral Sepulveda with the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. And I am proudly the first Latina elected to the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, and currently the only Latina elected countywide. And I say that with pride, but I also say that with fire, because I know that while I might be a trailblazer, there are many behind me, because that trail is on fire. I want to encourage our Latino community to vote today. We are the second largest voting group in Cook County when we come out to vote. And that is demonstrated in the numbers. In 2020, we had 574,370 voters. In 22, that dipped down to 286,620. And then it came back up in 24. Almost, nearly a little over 500,000 voters again. Now, what is happening in our neighborhoods has brought all of our community members together. It has brought our familia forward to speak up for those that cannot. And if our vote is our voice, then we must yell together. And just as we have come to protect our familia, we have to come to the voting booth as a familia. I'm with you with my LLC familia, but with me is also my familia, my daughter, my mother, my brother, and my son. Every year that I get to vote, I make a post online and I say, mi familia vota. Because I know that I bring them out to vote. So if you are going out to the voting booth today, bring out your brother, bring out your grandma, your tío, your grandma, comadre. We have to vote together. We cannot silence our voice in the streets, and we cannot silence our voice come election time. November is not the only time to vote. Those are the general elections. In Illinois, the primaries is where you make your vote and your voice count, and you push for Democrats that truly represent your interests, because not every Democrat is going to represent the Latino vote. This is when you come out to vote, today. And now in Spanish. Buenas tardes, comisionada Eira Corral Sepúlveda, del Distrito de Reclamación de Agua. Soy orgullosa de ser elegida a ese puesto. Soy la primera latina elegida en esa posición y lamentablemente ahorita la única latina elegida en todo el condado. En una posición del condado completo, perdón. Es importante que salgamos a votar. Si el voto es la voz, tenemos que gritar. Así como gritamos en las calles, tenemos que gritar juntos en las urnas de votar. Yo hoy salí a votar con mis hijos, con mi mamá, con mi hermano. Mi familia vota. Y así mismo tenemos que salir a gritar en las calles, tenemos que votar con nuestras familias. Así que saquen a votar a su mamá, a su papá, abuelita, a la comadre, a los tíos, a la mejor amiga. Es importante que nuestra voz se escuche. Nuestras elecciones demuestran que somos el segundo grupo más grande de votar cuando salimos. Los números lo muestran. En el 2022, en el 2020 y en el 2024 salimos en gran número, pero esos números bajaron en el 2022. Entonces, hoy es cuando hacemos nuestro voto y nuestra voz contar. Salgan a votar hoy. Las urnas están abiertas hasta las 7 de la tarde y si están en línea, quédense en línea hasta poder contar su voto.
Before we bring our next speaker and our final speaker, I just wanted to acknowledge and thank again the staff. I wanted to thank Alex from Lalos, who just a few days ago, Juan Ochoa and I called over to say that we wanted to do this, and he was able to put together a nice welcome for us. And so make sure that you tip your waiters and buy a lot of food, and stay afterward for the basketball games here with Alex at Lalos. Now, the next speaker, and I also wanted to recognize Juan Morado, who is also the co-chair of the endorsement committee. And I think we talk about the importance of family and having them involved early. So he brought his own daughter. So I think it's important that we start to teach our own children about the importance, because we have to tell them why we work so hard in our communities is not so that we bring something home just for our homes, right? We work hard in our communities so that children, our children, and their children are going to have a better community than what we found. So with that, I'd like to bring our final speaker. And again, I want to recognize the Pilsen Chamber, Alex Rendon, also with CL, and some other organizations that joined us here today. This is a group effort to bring about change in our community. And our final speaker today is a man who currently is the chairman of the Latino Leadership Council, and has guided us for the past year and continues to do so in these very critical elections. So with that, I'd like to welcome Carlos.
Carlos Montoya, I'm chairman of the Latino Leadership Council, and we're at a critical juncture. I couldn't agree more with the president and with Karina and Aida about how important this is. So getting out the vote is critical. We always talk about the need to do it. There's no more important responsibility than to vote. But we're also in a window now where there's one more item of even greater import, and that's watching over your neighbors and watching over your families so they're not dragged down the street, as we've seen here in Chicago in the recent year. We're at war right now, unfortunately, again, but we don't have a state of emergency here in Chicago because people rose up and overturned that. Right now, you can look at places like Minnesota where neighbors came out to protect families, to drive people to work, to surround daycare centers, and to shuttle people back and forth in the face of an onslaught from the federal government. And like Chicago, they were booted out, but that doesn't mean the threat is gone. So there'll be a lot of people today who will not feel good about getting out to vote. We have to convince people that it's okay. There's no state of emergency. The right still exists, and they should exercise it at all possible costs. And for us, it's that much more important as we look to get more and more Latinos and Latinas involved with the political system. That's what the Latino Leadership Council does, not just to get more folks elected, but to find out to figure out the financial side of that, because every election ultimately comes down to the ability to finance it. So in our short period, we've been able to disperse nearly $1 million to candidates. We don't just give them a check and say, see you later. We back them, we do everything that we can. We have high hopes for some of our candidates that we've endorsed, and we're going to see it through. And in the next cycle, the general election, we'll do it again, and we'll do it again. Call people, reach out to people, and tell them, for today, get out to vote. I did. Didn't see no ICE agents. I saw our Chicago Police Department, and all was good, all was fine. So it's a message that we have to get out to everybody, and it's more critical now than ever. So appreciate everybody coming out today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Happy birthday.